Chapter 675, Meeting with Chifu at Night. This chapter is updated by novels.pl. Really? Today, I insist on testing if you are the real Lin Yue. Xu Chenxing drew the golden soft sword that was hanging from his waist, forming a golden sword radiance. Just then, a beautiful and graceful figure appeared on the mountain path. It was Chifu. Chifu said, Xu Chenxing, you've really overdone it. If you want to fight, I'll be right there with you to the end in the final. Chifu walked down lightly on her slender legs. She stopped beside Zhang Yuochen and looked at Xu Chenxing unhappily. Xu Chenxing frowned slightly and said, Junior Sister Apprentice Chi, do not be deceived by him. According to my investigation, he may be an evil man from the black market rather than the real Lin Yue. Do I need you to teach me how to judge a man? Chifu said a little indifferently. If you want to fight, can you defeat us by yourself? Zhang Yuochen looked at Chifu with a bit of surprise. He never thought this woman would extricate him from his dilemma voluntarily. What is she thinking? Forget it. Xu Chenxing never thought Chifu was such a stupid woman. He withdrew his sword and glared at Zhang Yuochen. I'll reveal your true colors sooner or later. He was not satisfied, but he knew that he could not defeat Chifu and Lin Yue together. He would definitely be killed if he fought with them. So he had to leave right now. Chifu turned to Zhang Yuochen and revealed a faint smile on her pretty face. You can defeat Zhao Yuan at your age, you're really amazing. Furthermore, your cultivation in the Tower of the Sword is beyond my expectation. Zhang Yuochen stopped and stared at her angelic face. Do we need to be so courteous? Please speak plainly. Can we speak here? Half-saint patriarchs may be watching us. Let's go to my place. I think we must talk. Chifu transmitted sound in a low voice and carried an air of shyness. I think we should go to my place instead. Who knows if you've set a trap for me? Zhang Yuochen shook his head and clasped his hands behind his back. He went straight to Zixia Sacred Mountain and did not care if Chifu was able to keep up with him. Chifu bit her lip with her snow-white teeth. She thought for a moment and finally decided to follow him. She arrived at Zixia Sacred Mountain and entered Zhang Yuochen's courtyard. They sat on the floor in a room. A jade amulet appeared between her two snow-white fingers. She threw it in the air and it immediately turned into a white light screen that covered her and Zhang Yuochen. Zhang Yuochen appeared to be calm, but he was secretly guarding against her. She was currently superior to him in cultivation. If she took any surprise action, Zhang Yuochen would probably be seriously injured. He had been killed by a woman once, and he did not want to experience it again. You're highly gifted in the Tower of the Sword and your disposition is far beyond that of normal people. If you're willing to join the Kiz, I promise that you will have a higher status than mine, Chifu said directly. Zhang Yuochen had practiced to the 9th realm of Sword 1, and he possessed the treasured body of 3 spirits. Therefore, she tried even harder to recruit him to the Kiz. Such an amazing person would probably become the next Sword Saint as long as he remained alive. The whole Zixia Sacred Mountain was very quiet. In the room, there was only a white light screen. It glowed faintly and was reflected on her face as smooth as wax. Zhang Yuochen tapped his fingers softly on the table and said with a smile, You're an heiress of the Kiz, so you will definitely be the leader of the Kiz. How would you make it so that my status will be no lower than yours? Is there a status higher than the family leader? Chifu touched her hair softly and looked at Zhang Yuochen fixedly. She remained gentle and quiet. Of course, if you are able to become a Sword Saint, you can be my husband. Perhaps any man would be too excited upon hearing this. Zhang Yuochen raised his head calmly and stared at her exceedingly beautiful face. He said with a faint smile, You're so eager to recruit me. Do you really know me? I don't need to know who you were before. As long as you're willing to pledge allegiance to the Kiz, you will be one of us. Chifu smiled faintly. Her appearance became more beautiful and charming as if his soul had become captivated. He said, You don't want to know me, but I do want to know you. I don't believe that you're merely the heiress of the Kiz. Do you have other identities? That's right. The heiress of the Kiz is indeed my public identity, but I can't tell you the other identity just yet. When you agree to surrender to me, you'll know whom you've sworn allegiance to. Chifu said. Zhang Yuochen stood up and opened the door. You're not sincere. If you want me to surrender to you, you should at least tell me your identity. Have I not shown you my sincerity? Chifu stared at Zhang Yuochen with her beautiful eyes. She continued to say, You need to know not everyone can be recruited. You have something unique. I really want to associate with you. You really won't consider it? Zhang Yuochen said. If you tell me your other identity, maybe I'll think about it. Shifu shook her head and said, you'll get hurt due to your stubbornness. Honestly speaking, your disguise is not successful. Since Xu Chenxing has begun to suspect your identity, you may not be in the yin and yang sect for long even if I don't deal with you. A cold gaze flashed through her eyes. She stood up, opened the door, and went outside. If I meet you in the sword contest, I'll definitely kill you. Based on our intimate relationship, if I kill you on the Colosseum, nobody will believe that I did it deliberately. Zhang Yuochen looked at Shifu's back. He did not take action after weighing the pros and cons. With his current cultivation, he might not be able to kill her in an instant, even if he displayed the power of time and space. If he could not kill Shifu in a single strike, he would expose the power of time and space. By then, he could neither stay in the yin and yang sect nor the entire Kunlun's field. When she stepped out of the courtyard, Shifu met Mujiji and Xunhua Liu who had come from the sword contest. Seeing Shifu walked out of the courtyard, they suddenly opened their eyes wide to them. It was a bigger shock than seeing ghosts. Shifu glanced at them faintly and then walked away. She disappeared into the darkness and left a charming fragrance. Do my eyes deceive me? It's senior sister apprentice Chi, right? Mujiji's mind went empty. He could not process what had happened. Senior sister apprentice Chi came out of Lin Yui's room late at night. Has Lin Yui got pure and noble senior sister apprentice Chi so quickly? It's absolutely senior sister apprentice Chi. If the news spreads, perhaps a lot of her pursuers will drown themselves in the river tomorrow. Xunhua Liu had a cardiac twitch and could not believe his eyes. Zhang Yuochen came out and said, if you dare to talk nonsense, you're not allowed to look for me. Then, he said warningly, you'd better keep away from Shifu in the future. Don't blame me for not reminding you. Xunhua Liu immediately nodded. My big brother, please rest assured. Senior sister apprentice Chi is your woman, so she's our sister-in-law. How can we have improper thoughts about her? Mujiji said unhappily. Senior sister apprentice Chi's cultivation is so profound. Even if we have an evil idea, we can't approach her. Obviously, Xunhua Liu and Mujiji had misunderstood Zhang Yuochen. Zhang Yuochen refused to explain and instead asked them about the contest. He was informed that they had won and entered the next round. Then, he asked Blackie to help them practice in the sword contest for the 8th change in the Fish Dragon realm. The top 92 sword heroes had been decided today. The rest of the participants would compete for the remaining 8 positions in the next 2 days. In the end, the top 100 participants could enter the next round. Zhang Yuochen was ready to break through to the 5th change in the Fish Dragon realm in the next 2 days. If he broke through, his strength would be improved a lot. By that time, even if he met Xu Chenxing, Zhao Yuan, and Shifu, he would be able to confront them head-on. 2 days in the external world would be 20 days inside the scroll world. After entering the scroll world, he did not immediately open up the second holy meridian. Instead, he adjusted his state until he was completely calm. The 5th change in the Fish Dragon realm was called Yena Holy Meridian. Yena Holy Meridian extended from a monk's brows to his right foot, crossing more than half of the body. While opening up the second holy meridian, he did not meet any dangers. Everything seemed to be achieved effortlessly. It took him only 3 days to successfully open up the Yena Holy Meridian and break through to the 5th change in the Fish Dragon realm. Zhang Yuochen felt full of power. His cultivation and strength were at least doubled. If he met Zhao Yuan again, he would definitely be able to go head-to-head with him and not be at a disadvantage. He had just broken through, so now he was at the initial stage of the 5th change in the Fish Dragon realm. There was still a lot of room to improve.